Hello students. Today we will discuss about conserving biodiversity. In the previous lecture we have already discussed about the biodiversity and how the biodiversity is facing losses, what are the reasons, and today's lecture will be on conservation. Okay. So what is this conservation? This is preservation and careful management of the plant and animal species. Why we have to preserve and conserve? To prevent their extinction. Okay, so when we preserve the animals, we carefully manage the animals so that, and also the plants obviously, so that we can prevent them from their extinction from the world, is called what? Conservation. Several steps have been taken by different organizations which are national and international also to protect the biodiversity or to conserve the biodiversity. So out of these organizations, one of the important organization is IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. So this organization, International Union of Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, they work toward assessing the global conservation status of plants and animal species. So they try to find out what is the status of the plant and animal species and how the different methods have to be inculcated to conserve the plant and animal species. So they maintain a IUCN red list of threatened species. There is a list which contains the name of the threatened species which are in danger of extinction. So species are classified into different categories, like how many species have declined, what is the population, what is the area of the geographical distribution. So with this red list, they can find, the conservationist can pay the attention towards the species which is under danger of extinction. So they can find out what are the causes of its extinction and how to preserve this type of plants or animals to prevent them from extinction. So that is why they maintain the red list. And there is also a catalog called the Red Data Book where the different rare species and the animals which are, or the plants which are in danger of extinction, their names are given in this catalog. Okay, so different organizations, government organization and non-government organization, at all levels, they are constantly working together to organize the awareness programs and to do what? To find out the rules and regulations to protect the plants and the animals. Now we will try to understand some of the terms. Okay, some of the terms that are related to the species, like extinct species. What are these extinct species? This species no longer exists now. That is the dodo bird. This type of species, the extinct species no longer exists now. Like dodo bird, Tasmanian wolf, Labrador duck, they are not found anymore in the world now. Next is critically endangered species. These are at extremely high risk of extinction. Now, they are standing at the corners, that means at the borderlines. One more death and the animal will be extinct. So these are at extremely high risk of extinction in the wild, like Indian gharial, the Asiatic cheetah. Okay. Then we have the endangered species which are very high risk of extinction in the wild, like the Bengal tiger, Asian elephant and the snow leopard. So endangered species are at very high risk, and critically endangered species are at extremely high risk. That means they are sitting in the borderline. And endangered species are having very high risk. And vulnerable species are high risk of extinction. Those animals that are at high risk of extinction, like Indian rhinoceros and mandrill. Okay. So these are the definitions, or these are the characteristic features of the animals that we see here: extinct species, critically endangered species, endangered species, and vulnerable. So what is the extinct species? Those are already extinct and no more can be found. Critically endangered species are at extremely high risk of extinction, and the endangered species are those that are at very high risk of extinction, slightly less risk than the critically endangered species. And vulnerable species are at high risk of extinction, like Indian rhinoceros and mandrill. So, what has to be done? This is the features that we got now of different types of species, that they are going to extinct, or some are at high risk, some are at low risk, like this. So what has to be done? So the NGOs, the non-government organization, they share their job of conserving the environment with the government. So government has also some projects, NGOs are also sharing their part, and they are doing their job for conserving the environment with the government. So what are the works of the organizations? Like, they are helping in conservation, they are helping in spreading awareness among the people. Then they are trying to implement rule and regulations so that the animals and plants can be preserved. Some are focused on restoring the habitats of the animals and the plants through the field work and surveys. So NGOs work along with the government to the conservation, or for conserving the environment. They are all working together so that environment can be conserved, the animals can be conserved, and the animals and the plants are protected from being extinct. So they can spread awareness also. They implement the rules and regulations. They also try to restore the habitats of the organisms. So there are many famous conservation programs in India, like Project Tiger, the Chipko movement, the Van Mahotsav. These are all the programs that are taken by the people of India to protect the forest, to protect the animals, to conserve the animals from being extinct. So one of the largest conservation programs was Project Tiger, which was launched in 1973. And in this project, what was done is to identify the tigers and to create the list where these tigers are found, and find out their ways to restore them, how to restore them, because the numbers are going less and less. So this Project Tiger helped in restoring their numbers, to increase their numbers. Now different tiger reserves are made now, like 9 such tigers reserves are identified where tigers are found, like Manas in Assam, Palamau in Bihar, Corbett in Uttarakhand, Kanha in Madhya Pradesh, Bandipur in Karnataka, and Sundarban in West Bengal, where tigers are found. So here plants and animals are conserved in these places along with the tigers. So this is the work of the Project Tiger, to restore the number of the tigers which are reducing day by day. Now we shall see about the protected areas, as several areas which are rich in biodiversity has been declared as the protected areas. Why they are declared as protected areas? To maintain and protect the habitats of the plants and the animals. Because if the human activity is allowed inside the area, then the habitats and the numbers of the plants and animals may reduce. So these are the places which are protected from human interference. So like this, there are wildlife sanctuaries, national parks, forests, zoological parks, botanical gardens, which are called as the protected areas, where human activities are not allowed, they are strictly controlled and prohibited also. So under that we can see the forest reserves, which are large areas of forest cover, where cutting of trees is not allowed. If there is deforestation, then again the trees are planted, so that reforestation is allowed. And there is protection of the animals, the protection of the food and shelter for the wildlife is also done in the forest reserve. Their shelter, their food is also taken care of in the forest reserves. These are the large areas of the forests, okay, where no human activity is allowed. So next we come to wildlife sanctuaries. Here we can see these are protected areas where only limited human activity is allowed. Sometimes people can go there in certain areas of the sanctuaries to visit, but these are special protected areas, and there are more than 400 sanctuaries in India. The cutting of trees and the hunting of animals are strictly prohibited. Next we come to the national parks, where also the human activity is restricted, is severely restricted, is not allowed in the national park. And what is their aim? To preserve the flora and the fauna, that is to preserve the plants and the animals of that place. All these, like sanctuary, forests, reserves, the national parks, here human intervention and exploitation is not allowed. Next we have the zoological park. As you all know that an zoological park or a zoo, it is a park or a place where animals are kept in an enclosure or a cage or a building, and they are kept for public exhibition. And also in the zoos, animals are kept for breeding, for mating with each other to produce their child. Here people go and they see the animals. This is called the public exhibition, where the animals are kept inside the zoo and people go there to see these animals. This is the animals are kept for public exhibition. Next we come to the botanical gardens, where we can see rare and threatened plant species. There are about 1600 botanical gardens around the world, and most of the botanical gardens store the seeds. They act as the seed banks. Whenever there is a requirement of seed, then the botanical gardens can produce those seeds. So they are functioning as reserves of seeds for several species of the plants. So they are acting as what? Seed banks. So under the protected areas, we have studied about forest reserves, where we can see there are large areas of forest cover which are protected from any human exploitation. Then we have learnt about wildlife sanctuaries, which are also protected areas where only limited human activity is allowed. Then we have seen about national parks, which are also meant for conservation of wildlife, and human activities are severely restricted. Then we have seen zoological park, where the animals are kept for public exhibition. It can be in a cage or enclosure or premises or any building. And we have seen that botanical gardens, where we can see that they are the plants which are rare and threatened. They are seen here, and it also, the botanical garden also acts as seed banks, where we can get varieties of seeds whenever required. So with the description of this botanical gardens, we have completed this chapter today, and in the next lecture I will discuss the exercises. Before that, all of you study this chapter.